This is Savanad Castle, and it's located in southeast London in the borough of Greenwich, which in my opinion is quite a nice area. Now, you've seen the title, you might be thinking, but what about the Tower of London? Well, I would argue that if it wanted to be known as a castle, it would call itself one, and not a tower. The place we're visiting today is bold enough to call itself a castle, which gives it top marks in my books for confidence. Savanad Castle was built in 1784 and was commissioned by Lady Anne James, who probably wanted to dedicate it to her husband Sir William James, who died in 1783, as it was used as a museum to house mementos of his career. Sir William James's fortune was acquired through his career in the East India Company. You might know them as the British bad guys in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. It's quite obvious to see just from that he probably did some pretty terrible things, as we are talking about the British Empire's takeover of India. And one terrible thing he certainly did do was that he led the Battle of Savanad, which is where this castle gets its name, as the British called that fortress Savanad. In this battle, the East India Company decided it wanted to take over the lands of independent Indian prince Tulagi Angre, whom they had decided was a pirate, despite the fact that he was the rightful owner of the land they were attacking. The story's quite depressing. Anyway, the East India Company won, and the prince ended up being a prisoner of a local Indian dynasty called the Marafas for the rest of his life. The Marafas, might I mention, by the way, were the ones who gave Tulagi's father the land in the first place. So, what the hell? Okay, that's all very interesting, but why is this not a castle? Well, quite simply, no one was ever intended to live here. It's just a tower that, as I said, was a museum, and due to its lack of living accommodation, it's actually arguably what's known as a folly. I love follies. I always get excited when I find out I'm going to be visiting one because it's just such an unusual use of money. Essentially, a folly is a building that was built to look pretty. My favourite examples are like this one, as they are castles or towers that look Gothic or medieval, but were never actually used historically and were actually built by someone rich for their garden. Imagine having so much money that you decide to build a house or a castle in your garden for funsies. God, rich people live in a different world. So yes, this castle is fake. It is not a castle, and yet it is still bold enough to call itself one. Despite how lovely this piece of architecture is, it has unfortunately been subject to periods of neglect, and at one point was about to be possibly turned into a car park. I think that would have been such a tragedy. A successful group of campaigners managed to save the castle, and restoration works between 2003 and 2014 fixed this lovely castle into the place it is now. If you're looking to visit this castle, I'll tell you that on the bottom floor there's a tea room, which I can imagine is quite a nice place to stop for walkers if they're in the forest, and on the other floors, if you're actually visiting the castle, they have very friendly members of staff which you can ask about its history, as well as signs of information. The top floor actually is a real treat because it has fantastic views of a lot of London. It's on this massive hill. On a good day, you can even see Windsor Castle, which is very far away, to be clear, and it's one of the main residences of the British royal family. But not today. Unfortunately, it's just very foggy right now, so please bear the weather in mind if you are here for the views. But I think it's important to appreciate all forms of weather, as it's all part of the beautiful ecosystems of our world. So to me, the foggy view is cool too. The final modern part of visiting the castle is the farmer's market. The stalls circle the castle and sell all sorts of products, from preserves goods to plushies to cakes. I bought a massive custard donut and it was a solid 10 out of 10. Thank you so much to all of my members' support. I would like to say an extra special thank you to AJP3, Neo Chimera, Shadow X6E, Damascus and Solo the Slayer. If you'd like to become a member too, you can hit the join button down below to fund more videos.